quick interruption before we start the video here. After the recording, I just realized I wanted to get this out for you guys. Make sure to watch the whole video because it's packed with a lot of information that you really want to know about Holden, and also the second build that I will showcase you, the second idea of a build that you can use for your Holden yourself, is super strong as well, and a super good alternative for you guys that you should be aware of. And with that said, everything about Holden is going to be covered here in this video. Make sure to like and subscribe for increased summoning luck, and have fun. As you can see, Holden has been a main part here of my drafts in RTA. He's been a crucial factor for me in RTA. And first and foremost, please don't make fun of me being a Man United fan, okay? We Man United fans, we already have it hard enough these days, okay? So please have some mercy on us, okay? But why should you build Holden? I mean, that kind of already explains it right there. But why should you build Holden? Why am I making this video? Well, mainly I've got asked about my Holden build multiple times now underneath my RTA videos. And I thought to myself, you know what? Why not just make a video onto him where I go over not just his build, but about everything that you need to know about him to be able to use him to your best capabilities, as he is a super strong RTA unit, especially in RTA, super versatile DPS bruiser, and also quite good in PvP, mainly for Termaton, Inferno, and also for Rengokutsu, mainly used together with the Rahu, of course. But before I go into the 3 build paths I have for you guys that I can go and show you about the Holden, I really want to go into the skill up priority, because I've seen on some YouTube videos some misinformation being spread about the skill up priority on Holden, so I want to correct that real quick. But first let me do the 2x on Doki Doki. So here you all can already see my Holden and his skill ups. I don't have any dupes, of course. I don't have the funds to get dupes. If I had, I would actually. But what do we need to know about the skill ups? First up, the first thing you're probably going to do is going to clear PvE before you get into RTA, right? So in case you do not have a stripper for Inferno Termaton, that's where you can use the Holden. I personally use the Holden for Termaton with a Codex of Magic on top of it. So he strips the shield at the beginning, and then afterwards, when the Termaton gets a defense bonus, he strips that again. So you don't need a Heinrich who's gonna put up block buffs. So for that, for the Termaton, you want to have this increased just for you to have a more consistent run, to have a higher chance of actually you landing your strip and your attack down. That is gonna help for that, for the PvE. And of course the HP and crit rate is nice. But this is for the Termaton. And also what I had to do for Termaton is get that speed, otherwise he wasn't fast enough. You really want him to be fast enough to go early, to strip fast, and get that the attack break going there on the Termaton. So that is something for the Termaton specifically. You want to focus on your Latice as well. Now I heard S3 should be the focus, and that's actually the last thing you want to max. Because once you use him for a DPS and not just as a stripper for Termaton, for example, or as a DPS for Aurora Inferno, you can use him as well, by the way. He works great there as well. You want to have a few things ready for him, and that is, first up, you want to have that maxed out, right? The S1 it's just it's just his core mechanic in the kit. You want to have that maxed out, and also speed is super broken, right? And then S2. Why S2? Not only is he defense scaling and it gives you all the defense that you want, but I think the S2 is his most important skill in RTA, because having a 100% chance to decrease turn meter and maximize skill cooldown is super strong, right? Sure, you have a 10% chance the enemy resists, but this ability right here isn't just a very strong nuke that does a lot of single target damage, but the reset on the cooldowns is so broken, and you really want to have that maxed out over some bonus damage here. And once you have that, being able to not have to gamble winning a game because you don't have a high chance of landing that skill cooldown decrease, right? Or increase, more or less. then you can go into S3. Now S3 specifically, as you can see, even though it is a good AoE damage dealing ability, I haven't invested more here into the S3. I initially invested this for the Termiton Inferno, right? So I have a high chance to get that strip going. And then in the future, I think maybe I'll get this one as well. So I have some more damage on his S3 and some more crit rate especially, which is nice. And then if you have spare Latice, which I do not have, you can eventually go for this as well. But I don't think that is much needed so far for me. Make sure you have everything else ready for him to go at the beginning. Why is that the case? Well, because this cooldown sure is nice and all, but often I start off the fight without even using this for a bit, because sometimes I just want to have one unit bursted down and I want to get a lucky death break here, right? I have a good chance to get a death break, and that just enables me to kill that unit much sooner than a AoE would do on the whole enemy team. There's that. Now in terms of the builds, as you can see, here are my stats, but let's go into the modules so we see actually what I'm rocking here, and also give you some alternatives with the module and shells, because this isn't the end all be all. There's not just this build, but basically what I'm rocking here is Strife, Bloodbath, Coloss Guard. I prefer Bloodbath over the defense set, even though the defense set gives you more damage, gives you more defense and therefore survivability. Yes, it does, but against heavy hits, the Bloodbath just helps you a lot more to survive these heavy hits than the bonus defense you get from, I don't even know what's the name of the set again. Maybe we just do this, huh? Unbreakable set, from the Unbreakable set. At the beginning I ran an Unbreakable, but now that I have the Bloodbath set, I run a Bloodbath, and I run a 12-8-6. I run Strife here over the counter set, simply because I just got this Artisan and I used it. Now in terms of the speed, he has decent speed, as you can see, 200 speed. And here's the other alternative of the build that I'll go over afterwards. But basically what we have here is we have 3,300, and that's the exact threshold I was aiming at. Why the 3,300? Why is that the case? Well, of course you want to get as much as you can, but 3,300 gives me a 60% chance to counter without the Bramble set, right? 60% chance. But as we all know, after one turn is over, Artisan comes in, gives me another 700 defense, and that gets me to 4,000 defense. So not only does the Artisan give some survivability to me, but it increases my defense to 4,000, which gives me a 80% chance of countering, and on top of that, of course, it increases my damage as well because I have more defense. As for the crit rate, I just went with I think one crit rate piece. Yeah, I want crit rate and double defense bonus, as you can see here, and I have barely any crit damage because I value the defense higher than the crit damage because of how his S1 works. It increases my counterattack chance, it increases my tankiness, increases my damage, whereas the crit damage just increases my damage. And with that double defense, I'm actually able to get to that 3,300 defense and 4,000 with the Artisan, which is amazing, right? Like I said, if I maybe skill up that in the future to get that extra crit rate, it's gonna be nice, right? Crit rate just as much as I can get, but that's as good as I have it for now. And then crit damage and speed as much as I can get as well. Then as for my shell, I have an Artisan with increased defense, of course. This is a no-brainer. Then here you have three options. You can go for speed, crit rate, or crit damage. And here you have increases recent final damage. I think that's a no-brainer as well. But this is just one build. So what diversity can you go? First up, when you don't have these kind of shells yet, when you're not farming Inferno that much yet, you can go for a 12-12 as well. You can go 12 Bloodbath plus 12 Unbreakable. This will give you a lot of defense as well, but eventually you want to swap to a 12-8-6, simply because Coloss Guard is super good, and Strife and counter set is also, Bramble is also a super good set. Now here I could run Bramble as well, but there is a super strong tech that you can run on your Holden 2. There's two actually. First up, let me go over the one, you know, the sus one, Sassy Baka one, and then the crazy one, okay? So in terms of shells, let me go into the shells, because they matter here a lot. We have the Lighthouse as well, and we have, where is it? The Artisan. And what you can do is also, you could also run a Swift Rush on him, run him relatively quick, right? And therefore, when he's fast, he loses out on some damage per hit, of course, but when he's faster, he's able to maybe go in front of the enemy DPS or a major unit, you know, and then just reset the unit with his S2, or attack break the entire enemy team and strip the entire enemy team before they go to disrupt the enemy from cleaving you. That's something you can do. And the other thing, the big thing that actually I wanted to put out there, is what I'm thinking about of doing, and there's basically no better way, right? There's not one thing is better. There's these two things that are pretty similar in terms of strength, in terms of build, and the other build is super strong as well, and I haven't seen anyone use that. And that is, what you can do is you go for a, I think Bloodbath Coloss Guard is just super good for you to survive, and then you go for a Strife, 8 Strife, or you go for a 8 can I say it, Swift Rush, and you run, instead of the Artisan, you run a Lighthouse with speed on the passive effect too. Why is that? Well, when your opponent goes for Freya, let's say your opponent is a Freya cleaver, he plays Freya plus Yelly, hypothetically, and then what you have then is Freya goes, Freya procs your Lighthouse, your Lighthouse pushes up your Holden by 25%, your Holden gets pushed up by another 10% from the Strife, and therefore is very likely going to cut in front of your opponent's DPS, and can just disrupt the fight by stripping that attack buff, for example, from your enemy cleaver, or resetting a unit, like I said, and therefore have him as a disruptor by him cutting so far ahead through the Lighthouse. That's something you can consider as well. Now there's pros and cons to both, right? First up, what's the pro to the Artisan build with either Strife or Bramble? Well, the Artisan build gives your Holden more damage and more counter attacks, because the Artisan gives him more shield, right? 700 defense is a lot of defense actually. And the big thing is, the shield is not just massive, but it can also help your Holden to provide even more utility for your team by giving a big shield to another ally as well. That said, the shield can also be stripped, right? That's something to consider. Now the other thing is, you can go for the Lighthouse. What does the Lighthouse do instead of the can I say it, instead of the Artisan? Well, like I said, it recovers your Holden HP and it pushes him in front, so you can more likely be able to disrupt your opponent, but you will have not the ability to provide a big shield to your teammate and your Holden once he goes again. And the other thing is, of course, the Lighthouse heal can be negated by anti-healing, and the 700 defense that you get from the Artisan is not going to be applied by the Lighthouse. So this is the other thing that I can recommend you guys. And there is no better or worse in both of this. In some cases, the Lighthouse build is going to be better. In some cases, the Artisan build is going to be better. Now, I've been running very well with the Artisan. But the Lighthouse tech is something I wanted to tell you guys as well. With the Lighthouse though, I would definitely not go for the Bramble, because you really want to make use of that speed that the Lighthouse gives you, the push. You know, you really want to make use of that tempo that you get, that turn meter manipulation. So with the Lighthouse, I wouldn't go for Bramble, I would go for Strife or a Swift Rush, probably Strife. 90% of likely is going to be Strife. With the Artisan, you can still go for a Bramble as well, because, you know, and then you could, for example, if you go for Bramble instead of Strife, you have a higher chance of counter-attacking anyways. And then there, for example, I could run for a crit damage piece instead of defense. How much defense do I lose out? Let's say, let's put this to the test here. Actually, I lose out more defense here, but yeah, I would still be able to get 3000 defense, as you can see here, with the crit damage, if we have a Strife piece. Do we have a Strife piece? Yeah, we have a Strife piece. Just imagine this is crit damage, okay? We would still be able to, oh come on now, to hit. Yeah, look at this. He's not even maxed out. He doesn't even run max gear here, guys. He doesn't even run max gear. But with the crit damage, just imagine this is crit damage. You would be able to deal a lot more damage per hit, and you wouldn't really need that extra defense because the Bramble gives you a high chance to counter as well. So there's a few alternatives you can do. And then in terms of drafting, game version mismatch. Okay, sadly we do not have an earlier game, but in terms of drafting, what you can do, or what you should do when you go for a Holden is, first up, you want to have other DPS, or you want your Holden ban protected, because you don't want to be running around in the draft. When the enemy sees you only have one DPS, they're just banning your DPS, and then you don't have any damage, you're not going to be able to do much. So you definitely want the DPS. Now, what I like to do with the Holden, you know, someone like a Lily is quite strong with the Holden actually, because she can push up. Even the Tsukiyomi works well with the Holden, of course all the good units. But someone who's a very lethal duo, do I find a game where I have that duo? Oh yeah, it was this one all along. A very lethal duo is Holden plus Rahu. Holden plus Rahu is a very nasty duo, because the Rahu gives you a def buff onto the Holden, and then with the defense up on the Holden, he's just gonna counter every single AoE hit that comes his way, and he's gonna deal some more damage as well, right? So that is that. So there is that as well. And that is it already from my side. Let me know if you want me to show you guys some more RTA builds, some more intel about what's going on in terms of the builds, what's going on in terms of thought process and so forth. Maybe even go more detail into the drafts, what you want to see specifically. I hope that helped you guys. Make sure to subscribe and like this video, because this will increase your summoning luck. Do not forget that, do not underestimate that, because that's just the word in the streets. With that said, I'm Ronnie. I wish you a blessed day, and I'm out. Peace.